Script outline hooked the turning point, when she finally stops carrying a powerful, emotionally gripping opening showing the moment a woman lets go of the pain, the waiting, the self-doubt, and the psychological effect that shift has on the man. This section must capture the listener's attention instantly and create a fire inside them. Psychological insight, the reverse chase. Why men spiral when you pull back, deep dive into male psychology. Why indifference triggers a man's obsession. The role of ego, emotional scarcity, and loss of control. Highlight the science of detachment and why it's so magnetic. Strategy and self-reclamation, how to actually stop giving a damn without playing games. Practical steps to emotionally detach, rebuild self-worth, and reclaim power. No manipulation, just mindset transformation. Emotional breakthrough, the moment you remember who you are, reconnect the listener with their core identity and strength. Stir up buried confidence and personal pride, reigniting their inner fire. Conclusion and call to action, live like you're the prize. Because you are, leave the listener with a surge of unshakable confidence and clarity. Inspire immediate action, self-respect, and standards they'll never lower again. Section 1, hook the turning point. There's a moment, a quiet, almost imperceptible moment when something inside you just snaps. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with absolute clarity. It's the moment you stop begging for bare minimum affection. The moment you stop trying to decode mixed signals, overanalyzing every silence, every delay, every breadcrumb of attention he tosses your way like it's supposed to sustain you. No, that moment is when you wake up. And suddenly you just don't give a damn anymore. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping he texted back. You stop replaying the last conversation in your head, wondering if you were too much. Too little, too something. You stop shrinking yourself to make him more comfortable. You stop sacrificing your peace for his convenience. And in that exact moment, when your energy finally shifts from desperation to detachment, that is when he starts losing his mind. Because here's the truth no one talks about. He never expected you to walk away. He was comfortable with you always being available. Comfortable knowing you'd answer the second he called. Comfortable thinking you'd wait. You were the constant in his chaos, the security in his uncertainty. You were the one thing he didn't have to earn anymore. And when you pull that away, not with vengeance, but with peace, something primal inside him panics, and he may not show it right away. Oh no, he'll pretend like he doesn't notice. He'll post more, laugh louder, seem like he's moved on faster. But underneath that fragile mask of control, he's spiraling. Because when you stop giving a damn, you stop feeding his ego. You stop making him feel like the center of your world. And suddenly he realizes he wasn't the sun. He was just a shadow you kept chasing. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about you finally choosing yourself, about waking up to the fact that your love is not a charity, that your attention is valuable, that your peace is sacred, and that any man who doesn't recognize that doesn't deserve front row access to your heart. It's funny, isn't it? You poured yourself into someone who barely dipped a toe in. You overextended, overthought, overdelivered, thinking that if you just showed him enough love, he'd finally rise to meet it. But love doesn't work like that. You can't heal someone's emotional immaturity with loyalty. You can't force someone to care by caring harder. You can't keep throwing yourself into the fire and wondering why it burns. But when you stop, when you take your power back, when you stop performing, chasing, fixing, proving, everything changes. He starts to feel the void, not because you're punishing him, but because your absence finally forces him to confront what your presence was doing for him. That attention he took for granted, that emotional support he never matched, that fierce, loyal, forgiving woman who held space for him while he sorted out his own confusion. Gone. And here's where it gets real. This isn't just about him. This is about you remembering what it feels like to breathe again. To look in the mirror and see someone powerful, someone whole, someone who doesn't settle for half-hearted love and one-sided effort. You don't have to chase love. You are love. You don't need validation. You're already enough. So if you're standing at that crossroads torn between waiting for his effort and walking away, this is your moment, not to react, but to rise with dignity, with silence, with power, and wonder where you went. Let him spiral trying to figure out why the dynamic shifted. Experience the exact silence he once gave you. Because sometimes the loudest message is the one you never speak? Section 2, psychological insight, the reverse chase. You want to know why he starts unraveling the moment you let go. It's because the power dynamic flips, and for the first time, he's no longer the one being chased. He's now the one being ignored. And for a man who's built his confidence on your consistent availability, that shift is like emotional withdrawal. Because attention is a drug, and yours was his fix. Men don't always realize what they have when they have it. Why? Because the human mind adapts to patterns. When you're always there, always loving, forgiving, reaching out, staying available, your presence becomes expected, not appreciated, expected. He gets used to your loyalty. He assumes your forgiveness. He starts to believe you'll never leave, no matter how little he shows up. That's not love. That's ego reinforcement. But here's where psychology kicks in. The moment you stop giving, his brain hits a scarcity loop. Suddenly, what was abundant becomes rare. And rare equals valuable. It's not even always you he misses at first. It's how your attention made him feel. Important, desired. In control. That control is gone now, and so is the validation he used to receive just by knowing he had you wrapped around his finger. This is where obsession begins. He checks your social media, not because he cares about your life, but because he needs to know you still care. He'll test the waters with a hey or a random like just to see if you bite. But when you don't, when you stay grounded, calm, unbothered, that's when the spiral begins. Because nothing is more terrifying to the ego than being forgotten by the person it thought would always be there. You see, when you were giving everything, he was comfortable. Now he's confronted with a truth he never prepared for. You're not afraid to walk away, and nothing is more magnetic than a woman who doesn't need him to breathe. It's the paradox of desire when you detach. His desire increases, not because you're teasing him, but because your detachment signals self-respect. And self-respect is intoxicating. There's a psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect. We remember incomplete tasks more than completed ones. In dating, that means the unfinished connection, the unanswered messages, the emotional cliffhangers. They haunt the mind. So when you leave without drama, without begging, without explanation, he's left in limbo. That's the difference between being forgotten, being unforgettable. This is the power of peace, of not reacting, of refusing to participate in a cycle of hot and cold, come and go, love and lack. You're not punishing him. You're just choosing you. And that choice shatters everything he thought he understood about the game. So if you've been wondering whether your silence matters, believe me, it does. Not because it hurts him, but because it heals you. You're no longer at the mercy of his inconsistency. And unless he meets you on your new level, he becomes irrelevant. Understand this. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you no longer abandon yourself to care for someone else. It means your peace matters more than his potential. Your joy matters more than his excuses. Your future matters more than who walked away. So if you're wondering how to stop giving a damn, it's not about deleting numbers or playing cold. It's about building such a beautiful, full, grounded life that anyone who doesn't add to it simply fades into the background. Because the moment you reclaim your energy authentically, you become a force. A woman who no longer begs for attention but commands respect. A woman who knows that she never needed to chase love. Only remember, she was worthy of it all along. You don't have to become hard. You just have to become whole. Emotional breakthrough the moment you remember who you are, emotionally powerful, soul awakening, and psychologically transformative inspiration. There's a moment in every woman's journey when something inside her snaps, not in weakness, but in awakening. It's not the moment she screams, begs, or cries. No, it's quieter than that, more sacred. It's the moment she goes silent, and in that silence, she remembers who the hell she is. You've bent yourself trying to hold together something that was never yours to carry. You've given love like an open wound, hoping he'd see the beauty in it and give you something whole in return. You twisted yourself trying to become what you thought he wanted, while ignoring the voice in your gut that kept whispering, you deserve more. But now, you stop reaching. You stop performing. You stop betraying your soul to earn crumbs of connection. And in that stillness, right there, in the emptiness that used to be filled with his presence, you finally meet yourself. The woman beneath the pain. The one who was always worthy, even when she was overlooked. The one who radiated love, even when it was never returned. The one who kept showing up, loyal, real deep, even when he stayed shallow. And you realize you are not hard to love. He was just unequipped to love someone that deeply. This is the emotional breakthrough that changes everything. Because up until now, you might have thought his rejection was a reflection of your inadequacy. But what if it wasn't rejection at all? What if it was protection? Protection from spending a lifetime trying to convince someone to see you when you were born to be unforgettable. You were made to be loved loudly, consistently, and with reverence. Not convenience, not confusion, not conditional affection that comes and goes with his moods. And the truth is, your absence is going to hit differently now, not because you're trying to hurt him, but because you're no longer sitting on the shelf waiting to be chosen. You've walked out the door and taken your light with you. And when someone's had access to your soul, your softness, your laughter, your presence lingers long after you're gone. That's the kind of loss no man forgets. But the goal is not to make him suffer. The goal is to reclaim yourself so fully that what he feels or doesn't feel no longer has the power to break you. You've broken before, and you survived. This time you rise. This time you don't chase love, you become it. And that energy. That's what shifts your world. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, showing up differently. You no longer explain yourself to people who don't ask to understand. You no longer fight to prove your worth in spaces too small to contain your power. You begin to trust that what's meant for you won't require you to shrink. That trust, that self-assurance, is what makes people stop and stare. It's not your looks. It's not your clothes. It's that you finally stopped abandoning yourself. You finally stopped bleeding to make others feel whole. You finally said, if being loved means losing myself, I'll pass. And here's the most beautiful part. When you remember who you are, you no longer need closure. You no longer need that text, that apology, that grand gesture, because the closure is in you choosing you. That is the full circle moment. What's it on to the sale? That is the victory. You don't win when he regrets losing you. You win when you stop regretting loving him, because now you know it taught you how to love yourself more fiercely than ever before. This is your breakthrough, your rebirth, your revolution. And when you walk forward now, you do it as a woman who no longer gives her power away for potential, who no longer sees rejection as a reflection of her worth, who no longer waits for permission to feel whole. You were never too much. You were just never meant to be small enough for someone who didn't recognize gold when it stood in front of them. So go ahead, stand taller, speak louder, love deeper, but start with yourself. You're not the same woman anymore. You've remembered. And now that you have, no one gets to make you forget again. Section 5, final power move. Your silence is the loudest message he'll ever hear, emotionally charged, psychologically insightful, and action-inspiring content. You don't need to slam doors to be heard. You don't need to scream, beg, or prove anything anymore. The final power move, it's not revenge. It's not getting even. It's silence. The kind that echoes louder than any words ever could. Silence is misunderstood. Some think it's weakness, others assume it's surrender. But when a woman who used to over-explain, over-text, over-give suddenly goes quiet, it's not weakness, it's transformation. It's the sound of self-respect settling in. It's the shift from seeking validation to owning your value. Because silence says what your words never could. You've run out of space in my life, not out of hatred, not because you wish him pain, but because the version of you who needed him to get it is gone. And the version of you that remains, she doesn't negotiate with inconsistency. She doesn't beg for closure. She doesn't wait around for someone to realize her worth after they lost access to her. Your silence forces reflection in a way your presence never did. While you were there, texting, forgiving, explaining, he didn't have to feel the weight of your absence. But now it's different. Because silence removes the illusion of control. He can't predict you. He can't play the old game. He's left with the only company he truly earned, his own thoughts. And those thoughts, they're loud. They'll replay the way you laughed, the way you believed in him, the way you showed up with everything while he brought only fragments. He'll remember the last message, the one you never responded to. He'll wonder if you still think about him, if he pushed too far this time, if maybe, just maybe, you're not coming back. That's when the regret creeps in. That's when the silence starts screaming, because nothing disrupts a man's ego more than realizing the woman who once would have done anything to keep him no longer even thinks about him. But here's the truth. This isn't about making him miss you. That's just the byproduct. This is about making you remember how powerful it is to not respond out of emotion, but to act out of intention. To not let someone else's indecision make you question your identity. To stand in your peace so firmly that no one, not even the person you once loved, can shake it. Silence is closure you give to yourself. It's a boundary with no explanation. A decision with no drama. A quiet revolution that screams, I choose me. You don't get this kind of strength from just reading a quote or watching a video. You earn it through nights where you cried on your bathroom floor. Through mornings you woke up hoping for a message that never came. Through the ache of letting go of potential and learning to live in reality. Now here you are, standing on the other side. Wiser, sharper, softer, but in a way that no longer bleeds for people who wouldn't even bring you a bandage. Because silence is not about turning off your heart. It's about turning up your standards. It's about protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. In the moment you stop handing your soul to people who can't hold it, everything begins to change. You'll attract different people, people who match your depth, who don't confuse emotional distance with masculinity, who don't play hot and cold to test your loyalty, who see your silence not as a threat, but as a mirror, a reflection of the power you now own. So the next time you want to break that silence, ask yourself, will this honor me or just relieve my temporary discomfort? Because silence is not a punishment, it's a message. And the message is this: if you wanted me, you would have shown up when it mattered. Now you've moved on. This is your final move, not to get him back, but to never lose yourself again.